Everyone, I hope you're doing well. And today I just wanted to talk about a book that I've been having to read in grad school for my program. And that's Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan. Um we're reading the first two books, but I'll probably on my own read the rest. But anyway, yeah, if you guys don't know, Leviathan is basically about the structure of the state and state power and how it is that states come to be formed. But that's not actually what I want to talk about today. An interesting thing about Leviathan is that before you even get to the state, there are like 30 bajillion chapters on um human passions and virtues and uh stuff like that. Remember on my videos on Friends, I said that for the longest time um politics and ethics weren't really all that separate, right? Them being separate is more of a recent sort of way of thinking, at least in the West. But anyway, yeah, one of the things that Hobbes takes pain to do is actually develop a philosophy of language and logic, and but logic in the way we speak. Usually you're thinking, oh, all right, that means mathematics, that means like writing down a syllogism. But no, he does that with words in a very sort of Greek way. And he even mentions um like the Greeks didn't have a separation between reason and speech. Their word logos, right, is notoriously difficult to translate. Uh, in fact, some would say it's untranslatable, right? But it has that sort of notion of, okay, this is my speech, but this is also my reason, the way I make myself understood. And he takes this sort of grammar, this sort of reasoning that we all sort of do in speech, and he applies it legalistically eventually to verbal contracts, which he calls covenants, which are more like promises that you'll do something, right? And he says, like, if you say, for example, I will do this thing for you tomorrow, or get this thing done for you tomorrow, well, that's unclear, that's ambiguous, that's nothing more than a promise, and you can't really be held liable, or you have no recourse, at least legally speaking, in a court of law to restitution. Whereas if you say, I today say that tomorrow it could be exactly at this time or that time, will do this for you, well, then that's entirely different, right? Because you're being more specific. You're saying, today I promise that, and tomorrow it will get done. And right, it just made me think of how ambiguously we actually speak to each other when it really comes down to things, right? Because in normal discourse, we wouldn't really see a difference between that, right? But it actually does matter legalistically speaking. And keep in mind, Hobbes is a political philosopher, but he even says like he's not a lawyer, but this is a very like lawyery thing to do. And I don't know, you like in a lot of ways when we speak just good enough to get our meaning understood in the most efficient way possible. So I mean, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. As another example, for example, I don't know. I'm gonna be showing myself as a retro tech geek, but you remember that old Apple slogan from like the late 90s and early 2000s, think different. Um I mean, that grammatically makes no sense. You're supposed to say think differently, right? Because one, if you just say think different, that's an adjective, right? It doesn't have a predicate. Um, but think differently, that's an adverb. You know, with that ly suffix, that it's modifying the verb specifically, but yet we all know what we mean by that, right? It doesn't really matter whether the ly is there or not. It's like, oh, you did this wrong. I think you would have to say you did this wrongly, but in common speech, it doesn't really matter. We all get what we're trying to say. But again, it's very important for legal reasons. So anyway, I just thought that intersection between politics, ethics, and the philosophy of language was interesting, and I thought you guys would appreciate that. All right, bye.